absolutely massive champion of new nuclear, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Thank you.
The Prime Minister this morning talking about a subject he wanted in the news, nuclear energy investment.
I'm not surprised that there's a buzz in the room, because you will realise that this has been the product of a huge amount of hard work.
In the room, energy and tech bosses, many from American companies. One of a grid of announcements planned ahead of President Trump's visit this week, knocked down the news agenda by the sacking of Peter Mandelson. That topic now the subject of a 3-hour Commons debate tomorrow, engineered by the Tory benches.
The debate will be held tomorrow.
A rare moment of Tory success, overshadowed by one of their front bench Commons team saying this at a Reform UK press conference.
The Conservative Party is over. Over as a national party. Over as the principal opposition to the left.
The Tory leader grasped at one blessing from the defection. Danny Kruger said it was systemic failure in the party, not down to her.
Danny has made his case very clear that this is not about me. I can't be distracted by that, and I'm not going to get blown off course by these sorts of incidents. I know that this is the sort of thing that is going to happen while a party is changing.
And I feel amazingly secure.
Peter Mandelson in happier times testing a driverless car in California. His sacking has triggered a series of internal attacks on Keir Starmer by Labour critics, and renewed suggestions he could face a leadership challenge from Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham.
Who we fear most at the next general election, Keir or Andy B? It's a very hypothetical question, and you know that. Keir Starmer will not be leader of the Labour Party at the next election. In fact, he might not even last the next year. Look, you know, if it's Andy Burnham, you might say he's very personable, but he also would drag Labour way to the left. And that's not the direction the centre of gravity in this country is going. It's going in a different direction.
Number 10 called in party loyalist MPs for a pep talk from Keir Starmer this morning and promised this would be a new regular thing. Is a positive message from the leader?
Yeah, full of beans, Gary, full of beans.
Very positive, very upbeat.
Yeah. All very happy.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the message from the leader?
We're in charge.
He's a fighter, not a quitter?
Don't be silly.
Keir Starmer told his MPs Reform UK is now the primary opposition. But he knows the number of his own MPs who are confident he can beat them is reducing.
Well, Gary's in Westminster and joins me live now. Gary.
Well, as you were saying at the top of the programme, also reducing is the number of people around Keir Starmer who've been with him for a long time. That strategist who has left, the director of strategy at number 10, is a guy called Paul Ovenden, not a household name, but a very, very important figure in the hierarchy at the top of Keir Starmer's Labour Party. You might remember the first of the TV debates in the last general election when Keir Starmer didn't seem to be picking up that Rishi Sunak was again and again referring to Labour tax rises. It was Paul Ovenden who walked up to Keir Starmer during the commercial break and put him right in fairly blunt language and told him to get back on message and knock down the tax message from Rishi Sunak. He, as you said, has confessed to inappropriate and explicit texts back in 2017, which have surfaced, in which he was rude about Diane Abbott. Thinning the number of people who Keir Starmer really knows and likes to have around him is difficult enough, but there's also that whiff of decline that comes inescapably when you have a series of departures. We talked in that report about how announcements attached to the state visit from President Trump were meant to sort of turn all this round, but inevitably Peter Mandelson's sacking diminishes that, overshadows all of that. There's no question some people are trying to use the Peter Mandelson saga just as a proxy because they've got it in for Keir Starmer anyway. But there are also people who are shocked by what the management of the Peter Mandelson saga.
Well, joining me now from Parliament is former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, who's now forming a new political party. Jeremy Corbyn, you saw what the Prime Minister said there. Do you believe him?
Well, I think he's got himself into a huge hole at the present time, and actually his constant refrain has been to criticise refugees and asylum seekers. He's played into the hands of reform on so many occasions, and as a result they've got much bigger. The real issues facing our country are the housing crisis, is the poverty crisis, is the poverty of children, is the attack on welfare benefits for those with disabilities. Surely what he should be saying is we're going to lead to a process of renewal which eliminates the poverty and inequality of our society. He's not saying that.
Well, he says he's getting on with the business of, revamping his premiership in effect. But, I mean, you've been Labour leader. Do you know how tough it is? Do you sympathise with him at all?
Well, being a leader of anything is tough, and being leader of the Labour Party is very, very difficult indeed. And there's no shortage of people that give you lots of voluntary advice. And so,
including some of your old friends.
Well, indeed, my old friends are very active and very good people. All I would just say is that this country is facing, yes, an economic problem, but it is facing, above all, an inequality problem because of the levels of poverty amongst so many families throughout the country, and we need to deal with that. And we need to also cut down on the rhetoric which is demonising refugees and asylum seekers who are stuck in hotels who don't want to be, living in great poverty which they don't want to be, in a country where they want to gain admission to stay permanently, that's obvious, but they also want to contribute to our society. Let's not demonise the victims of wars around the world and instead start looking for solutions and a safe route for people to seek asylum anywhere in Europe, including this country.
So if the current Prime Minister does not find those solutions and articulate them, does he face the kind of oblivion that you took the party to in 2019, or does he face a worse fate?
Well, it wasn't oblivion in 2019. It actually got nearly 1 million votes more than was received for Labour 4 years later. So let's
lowest number of seats since 1935, though.
I know that very well, and I know very well the inadequacies of our electoral system. Of course, I know very well what happened. But there has to be a process where the political system actually delivers for the needs of the poorest people in this country. And if the mainstream parties, such as Labour, Conservative, cannot deliver anything that resembles social justice, then other people come along. At the moment,
okay, well, one of those other people,
it's reform.
So how worried are you?
Solutions.
Yeah. How worried are you that Nigel Farage might end up in Downing Street?
I'm extremely worried, and I'm extremely worried about what I saw on the streets of London on Saturday. The disgraceful behaviour, yes, but it was also the disgraceful message that was there, funded presumably by Elon Musk and presented by Nigel Farage. These super wealthy people have no interest whatsoever in solving the problems of poverty of the poorest people in our society. They are only there, just like the far right are all over the world, of exploiting those things. But the answer has to be, don't play into their hands. The answer has to be, deal with the problems of injustice and inequality.
But aren't you playing into Nigel Farage's hands by setting up your new party, currently nameless and without an organisation? But even so, Labour risks losing votes to both the left and right. So aren't you making it more likely that Nigel Farage gets into Downing Street?
Quite the opposite. The people that are signing up and joining your party are people that want to see genuine and real social change in our society. They're turning out in their tens of thousands to meetings and rallies all over the country. They're genuinely interested in a coherent, cohesive society that doesn't blame minorities, doesn't blame refugees, isn't racist, and is there to deal with the very important, very serious social issues. That's a wake-up call to Labour as well.
And are you going to be luring some of your old friends on the Labour backbenches to that party anytime soon?
I've informed them that they're more than welcome.
But are you expecting some of them to join? I mean, you've seen Reform claiming a Conservative scalp today.
Yeah,
Is that going to happen?
I saw that Danny Kruger's joined, yeah. Well, there are a number of MPs who are still suspended from the Parliamentary Labour Party. Now, that might be they're keeping the suspension in operation to stop them voting in the deputy leadership election, or it could be that they intend to keep them out and kick them out. Well, if those very good MPs are kicked out of the Labour Party, well, I'd be very happy to work with them. Indeed, I meet them almost every day, and I work with them on lots of issues, particularly amendments to bills and procedures in Parliament. So it's not as if we don't know each other very well.
Would your party work with the Labour Party to keep Reform out at the next election?
Look, we're a long way off from that, but we would obviously
maybe
do everything.
Not.
Well, let's see. We'd obviously work with other people. We realise the need to defeat reform, and you do that by cooperation, but you also do that by giving a serious, coherent message, which is about social generation, social renewal, not pandering to racism. And your party is not going to ever pander to any form of racism.
Well, one of Keir Starmer's aides, Paul Ovenden, has left today. He said he was planning to quit anyway, but he's quit today after it was revealed he'd made sexually explicit jokes about your friend, Diane Abbott. Is it the case that Keir Starmer has been let down by his advisers, and he's one of them?
They're the very same people that were attacking me in the Labour Party when I was the leader, and they were exposed in the leaked report, and they were also exposed in the report done by Al Jazeera, the Labour Files document. These people that seem to think they can earn loads of money working for a political party and send round so-called witty WhatsApp groups when they're disgusting racist comments abusing Diane Abbott and other black comrades, utterly disgusting. They have no place, not just in the Labour Party, they have no place in politics at all.
But Blairites like Morgan McSweeney helped Keir Starmer to an historic election victory. You've got to acknowledge that, haven't you?
Well, they got an election victory on the basis that the Tory vote collapsed and the Reform vote went up. But just bear in mind, there were a considerable number of independents. 5 of us were elected, one later joined. But in many other places, independent candidates on a broadly left position did extremely well. I won my own constituency on a very clear platform of what I would advocate for and do in Parliament. I think there is a thirst amongst the community in Britain for something that is a bit more coherent and cohesive than that's offered by the 3 main parties or by Reform.
You were actually ahead of Keir Starmer in opinion polls. 17% of the country say you were a good Labour leader against 11% currently for Starmer. Can you ever see yourself rejoining the party under, say, an Andy Burnham leadership?
Look, the Labour Party expelled me from membership in 2024 and very helpfully added an addendum to the letter with a number of the Samaritans in case I needed to call them if I was deeply stressed. They expelled me after 50 years membership without even a word of thanks.
Yeah, but Andy Burnham might invite you back in if he's leader.
Listen, we're forming your party. It's going very well, huge amount of support, and we're putting forward a really good political alternative, and that's what we're doing.
Jeremy Corbyn, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, now, one of the supposed benefits of making Lord Mandelson the ambassador to the US was that he would help wrangle a good trade deal out of President Trump. Indeed, the business secretary, Peter Kyle, said at the weekend that Peter Mandelson's talents were, quote, worth the risk. The UK has been hit with higher tariffs, though the Trump visit this week is set to bring new investments into AI and nuclear power. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, is here. So, Helia, can we say that Lord Mandelson's time as ambassador did deliver for the UK?
Well, there's been a lot of praise heaped on Lord Mandelson's very singular abilities. So I think, as you said, it's very right to assess what he's achieved and how that sits within the wider economic strategy of the government. When you go along, Cathy, to the Treasury's jamborees in Washington, there's no doubt that Lord Mandelson has a fluency with politicos and with business types. That's why probably Downing Street saw him as a Trump whisperer. He's got this very long-standing relationship with Scott Bessent, the US Treasury Secretary. He's got links, apparently, with Peter Thiel, one of Trump's biggest backers. And all this very high-level glad-handing secured the US-UK prosperity deal. Now, that was the first deal extracted amid the chaos from the White House, and no doubt it's given UK companies a modicum of security. It allowed cars to be to have export tariffs of only 10%, UK airlines and engines, nothing, and UK is the only country not to have the 50% steel rate. But, and there always is a but, steel still attracts a 25% tariff, and all of the tariffs together have a £7 billion cost to the UK economy. There was supposed to be a better deal for steel. Indeed, there was supposed to be a better deal for UK drug companies, but none of that has materialised. In fact, Cathy, this deal only covers 3% of UK exports, and in return, we have reduced the tariff on many things like ethanol and beef.
So is there likely to be any progress on trade this week, do you think?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of song and dance about a new golden era of nuclear, but we know that takes time. There's going to be a huge focus on technology. Lots of tech bros coming to town with the president, people like Sam Altman from OpenAI, and that's because AI takes 10 times as much computing power as a search engine. So you need all of this extra infrastructure and data centers to create the AI revolution. But lots of critics say, why are we embedding a whole new generation of US tech companies, given all the controversies? Think of the Online Safety Act. And at home, UK companies say, why are you rolling out the red carpet for US industries while you're raising taxes for us? And that creates this contradiction.
Helia, thanks very much.